Yeah. Run it back nation. What is good? It is your boy DJ Wood, Run it back Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros. That was not an intro. That was a figment of your imagination. That's the standard music on StreamYard. I hated it at first, but I don't know, man. It's kind of growing on me a little bit. I was kind of vibing out. I'm not gonna lie. It's relaxing. What's up with you guys, man? Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Who's in the stream? JS. Yeah, boy. Rob Baby, K Robinson, Leroy, Kato, Big Moose, Lucci produced, Omizi Gaming, El Copic, Glenn Carlo. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Shane Butler's in the house. Rome Dalla 215. Shout out to the 215. Nick 21, Anthony, and James Harden's beard. Random Gamer 23. Everybody in the building. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, the Sixers take care of the Brooklyn Nets. 121 to 101. Wrong mic. Ah, shit. Snap. Hold on. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. You never know what's going to happen on the show. One-man production crew. That should be good. Let's start over. I think that was the mic on my webcam, which I don't even know why webcams have microphones, to be honest with you. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Thanks for hooking me up with that. Let's start over. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Run it back, nation. What is good? It is your boy DJ. Run it back, Philly. No frauds, no fanboys, no intros. I can't seriously do the intro 2 times in a row. But yeah, listen. Thanks for everyone being here. Thanks for hanging out. The Sixers beat the Brooklyn Nets 121 to 101. Hold on a second. That's that sparkling water. Yeah. And it was a blowout at the end of the day. And my main question for this stream, my main question that I'm asking myself, my main question that I'm asking everybody is, can the Sixers continue this and end this thing in 4 games? I said perfect case scenario is 2 things. The Sixers take care of the Nets easily in 4 games, and most of the games are not close, and they get to rest the starters and put the bench unit in the 4th quarter, and that's what happened yesterday. So game 1 down. They did what I wanted in game 1. We'll see if they continue to do it in game 2. We'll see if the Nets maybe steal a game. We're going to break down all of the things that I saw, all of the things that I want to talk about. The second part of the perfect case scenario was maybe the Atlanta Hawks being competitive with the Boston Celtics, and they were down 30 at halftime. So yeah, that's just not going to happen. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I didn't see anything from the Atlanta Hawks that tells me they can even steal 1 game. They have a very bland offense. It's really just Trae Young and his name escapes me right now, the other point guard, going back and forth. They have absolutely no defense. They're terrible. They were down by 30 in the first half. It's over. So the Atlanta Hawks aren't going to help us out, but the Sixers did what I think they needed to do in game 1, and I hope they can do that in 4 games. The Nets hung around for a few quarters. You know, it wasn't a blowout in the first half. They were going back and forth a little bit. We really didn't lose control of the game at any points. It went from 5-point leads to 10, 13-point leads to back down to maybe 7 or 8, but you never really had a nervousness that the Sixers were actually going to lose this game. And then in the end of the 3rd quarter, the run that they made there with the Tyrese Maxey couple plays, George Niang, big 3, and then the beginning of the 4th with the James Harden lineup with Paul Reed going off, doing some Harlem Globetrotters action through the legs behind his back, up and under, left-handed finish, the Paul Reed victory tour, the crowd's chanting Paul, B-ball Paul. It was beautiful. And that's really, when the game was put away, the end of the 3rd into the 4th. And yeah, the Nets got put away in the 4th quarter. Offensive rebounds. The main thing that stood out to me was the Sixers' effort defensively and effort rebounding wise, and the communication defensively, switching at the right times, rotating at the right times. It seemed like everybody was locked in. Everybody knew where they were supposed to be. And I saw more effort. I saw more effort from everybody in this game, probably more than I did in the entire regular season. And that should be what happens. It's the playoffs.
A lot of times we were frustrated with this team throughout the regular season with just the lack of effort flat out on the floor in certain games. But if they're going to give us 110% every defensive possession, every offensive possession in the playoffs, then yeah, you're right. The NBA regular season, does it matter? No, probably not really. When you have enough superstar talent that you're going to be a top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed in the East, and you're going to get in the playoffs, should you go hard for 82 games? Probably not. It is what it is. The offensive rebounds in this game, Tobias Harris had 2 of them. I made a joke that that's a career high on the live stream. It's not a career high, but just the fact that Tobias Harris had 2 offensive rebounds, they were 2 big possessions, and he was giving you that extra effort on the glass. PJ Tucker had 5 of them. PJ Tucker had 5 offensive rebounds. The second chance points were killer at certain moments of the game for the Brooklyn Nets, and PJ Tucker was a huge part of it with 5 offensive rebounds. Joel Embiid had 2. Tyrese Maxey had 1. James Harden had 1. DeAnthony Melton had 1. DeAnthony Melton had a huge one at the end of the third quarter. Offensive rebound, kicked it up to George Niang at the three-point line to hit an open 3 to push the lead to 12 at the end of the third quarter. I don't think DeAnthony Melton is really talked about enough because he doesn't have the flash. It doesn't show up in the box score, but little tiny things like that players like DeAnthony Melton give you are huge. And of course, Paul Reed had 2 offensive rebounds in 12 minutes, 4 rebounds, and 11 points. 3, what did he have? Did he have a steal? He had a steal. 2, I hate how NBA.com's set up, bro. I can't even read the categories. 2 steals and 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds. But really that little 3-minute run in the beginning of the fourth quarter is where Paul Reed went off, and the crowd was loving it. They were chanting B-ball Paul. It was funny. They flashed to Josh Harris standing in the crowd, who, by the way, was standing courtside wearing a hoodie. And it makes me laugh because Josh Harris, for those that don't know, the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers team who just purchased the Washington Commanders, mega rich, one of the richest men in the country. For some reason, he's now showing up to games standing courtside, trying to look like he's engaged and really cares about the game of basketball. And it's funny to me because he's so rich that he tried to dress down to fit in, but he had on a $2,000 Louis Vuitton hoodie. like he was getting ready for the game in the morning, right? And he told his wife, he's like, "Hey, help me out here. I really want to dress down to like fit in with Philly, to stand courtside and fit in with Philly. What should I wear?" And she's like, "What you got to wear? What do they wear? What do people wear? What do little normal people wear? What do little peon people wear?" And she finds the only hoodie in his closet, and it's a $2,000 Louis Vuitton hoodie. I thought that was funny. Just wanted to touch on that Josh Harris is standing courtside, acting like he's a fan, and why is he suddenly doing that? But whatever. It is what it is. I just thought that was funny. But yeah, the Sixers dominated the offensive boards, and that was a huge part of them winning this game. The Nets strategy. We'll see if the Nets continue this same strategy, but the Nets strategy in this game was a good thought. I'll give it to you, Jacques Vaughn. It was a good thought. It's what you should do to try to beat the Sixers. You don't have a chance at beating the Sixers at all, let's be honest, because Joel Embiid is so dominant and so the gravity that he draws from a defense is just so insane. There's really nothing you can do. You can't guard him one-on-one. You know that. You saw a specific play where Joel ended up with Nick Claxton on him under the rim. I think it only happened one time in the game, and I was on the live stream just saying, automatic bucket. You might as well just, like an intentional walk in baseball. If you could just point to the official and say, "Okay, you got us," give him the point. Nick Claxton, 7 feet tall, but he's a beanpole. Joel just drop step. Square on 2K, move him right out of the way. Easy layup. It's a bucket. So you can't guard him one-on-one. You can't even really slow him down with 2 players. You got to try to throw it. You got to try to throw 3 players at him, really, and that's what the Nets were doing. That was their strategy. We're going to throw everybody at Joel. We're going to bring blindside doubles. We're going to do everything we can to get the ball out of his hands. But for the first time, I feel like, for the first time in Joel Embiid's 8-year career, he has players on the perimeter that can actually make teams pay when they throw the kitchen sink at him. I personally went on Fox Bet. I put $10 on a Joel Embiid triple-double, would have paid out $1,000. Didn't happen, but it could happen. And I just told my girlfriend earlier, I'm putting $10 on a Joel Embiid triple-double every game of this series because it could happen because the Brooklyn Nets strategy is just triple team Joel and make him pass the ball. So if he's passing the ball a lot, I think he could maybe squeak out one of those 10 assist games. We'll see. I'm willing to put $10 up every game to try to win 1,000 on that. But yeah, that's the Nets strategy, and it didn't work because the Sixers finally have perimeter players who can make plays and make a team pay for doubling, tripling, throwing the kitchen sink at Joel Embiid. And that's why I don't like when people say Joel hasn't been able to get them to the second round. Is he really a superstar? He hasn't been able to get them past the second round. He needs to get them past the second round. It's not like a player. It's not like a small forward. It's not like a ball dominant perimeter player leading a team. It's not like a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. This is a center. He scores all of his points in the paint. He has a mid-range game, yes. He can shoot threes, yes, but realistically, he's a center. And if teams succeed at throwing doubles and triples at him, and you got Ben Simmons on the perimeter, you got Jimmy Butler who shoots 25% from three, you got Al Horford out there. You know what I mean? Those were the worst spaced teams ever. And they could dominate in the regular season because Joel is that good. But when it came to the playoffs and it came to teams like the Toronto Raptors at the time with Marc Gasol and all those guys, they could double, triple team him and take him out of the game because they couldn't spread the floor. You had a point guard who won't shoot. Joel finally, for the first time in his 8-year career, has players on the perimeter that can make a team pay for doubling and tripling. And you saw it last night. You saw it yesterday. They had 13 three-pointers in the first half. That's the most first-half three-pointers by the Sixers since 2002. So, we'll see. Maybe the Nets switch it up and now try to say, okay, that didn't work. Let's fan out a little bit. Let's lessen the doubles on Joel, and then Joel's going to have a 55-point quadruple-double. There's nothing they can do. It's over. It's over. It doesn't matter what they do. Joel's going for 50, or they're doubling and tripling, and Harden's going for 21 and 13. Maxi's going for 20. Tobias Harris. Nothing they can do. It's over. It's over. I thought the Sixers team defense was great. I thought the rotations were great. The switches, everybody was giving 110% effort. I thought the communication was great. I really didn't see a lot of lapses in defense. What's next? Doc Rivers lineups. Doc Rivers lineups in this game were perfect. They were perfect. And again, I don't want to make this sound like this is some kind of genius thing. I do like what he started doing towards the end of the season, which is take Harden off the floor first. Then you got that lineup of Maxey and Embiid with a couple of bench players, Jalen McDaniels, George Niang, and so on. And they run like the end of the first quarter. And then Harden comes in the second quarter with that Black Air Force One lineup. You know what it is. Paul Reed, Daniel House Jr., Jalen McDaniels is in there sometimes, DeAnthony Melton. George Niang is in there. George Niang got into foul trouble, and Daniel House Jr. got in the game. I don't know if House will get much playoff run, but when Niang gets in early foul trouble, Daniel House is the guy that slides in there. So I like that rotation of Maxey and Embiid with the bench at the end of the first quarter, and then the second quarter he goes Harden with the bench lineup because I think Paul Reed is a perfect rim running center for James Harden to play with, and I like watching them together. And he's staggered them back and forth. That's why Shake Milton didn't play at all, and I think I've said that throughout the season. I think that's kind of the key is having one of Maxey or Harden on the floor at all times. And in the Maxey lineups where Harden's not out there, you're relying on Tyrese Maxey's facilitating ability, and I think he did a decent job in this game. The Nets did not have good defense in the game pretty much whatsoever. And in the fourth quarter, they got smoked. There was a play in the third or the fourth where Maxey brings the ball up, calls his own play. He went like this. I don't know what this means, but this is the play that he called. He gives the ball to DeAnthony Melton, comes off a pin down screen up. Maxey gives him the ball. Melton then drives baseline and kicks it back to Maxey. And it ended up 2 defenders on DeAnthony Melton. Maxey was wide open. And when Maxey's wide open, what is it? It's a layup. Maxey's automatic from 3 at this point. Maxey's automatic from 3. It's crazy. It's crazy. I see him wide open. I'm like, that's going in. And I'm loving it. And I hope Maxey can keep up that level of play. But yeah, I thought Doc Rivers' lineups were perfect. He didn't do anything insane. Just do the right thing, Doc. Just don't overcomplicate the game. Just do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Play Paul Reed at backup center. George Niang's in there. He was 3 for 5 in this game, 2 for 4 from 3. When he's making shots, he's valuable. He even had a play where he jab step, drove to the rim, and hit a little fadeaway in the paint. Royce O'Neal and those guys should be a little bit embarrassed that George Niang's hitting you with a triple threat. But if George is having a good game, he's valuable. If he's going over, then I think you got to adjust mid-game and play Daniel House Jr. We'll see if Niang maybe has a bad game and Doc adjusts in the middle of the game. I don't know, but I did like his lineups. I think this is the way. I think this is the way to be the most competitive. It sucks for Shake Milton that he doesn't really have a role in the playoffs. We'll see if Doc plays him or not. But yeah, I thought his lineups were great. Again, Joel Embiid was. If you look at the box score, people that didn't watch the game, they're going to say Joel didn't have a great game. But you could see from what it was from the jump, again, doubles, triples, every time he touches the ball. He really couldn't get many shots off. I think he had 7 field goal attempts in the first half, and the rest of the team made him pay. The Nets strategy is just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Joel got smacked in the face on a dunk attempt. I wanted to talk about that because, first of all, I don't really want Joel Embiid doing that. I don't want him driving down the lane trying to dunk on everybody because the injury risk just rises and we don't need it. In that situation where Joel, I think just got into like some chippiness with Royce O'Neal, and then maybe that was before, but maybe it was after. But either way, he sees a wide open lane and he says, I'm going to dunk on this whole team. We like it. It's flashy. It's cool. It'll make for a great poster, but for the sake of us having you healthy throughout the entire playoffs, please don't do it anymore. See the open lane, take an extra dribble, plant both of your feet, pump fake, get an and one. I don't want you trying to jump from the foul line and dunk on everybody. So anyway, dude just smacks him in the face. I see the replay, and I'm like, hold up. He wasn't even looking at the ball. He really just came right at Joel, looking right at his face, and smacked him in the head. JJ Redick's on the broadcast saying that's an easy flagrant one. The Doris Burke knockoff, I don't know her name. She was like, that's an easy flagrant number one. The ESPN goes to the official guy in the booth to try to give us a breakdown. The producer forgot to turn his microphone on. We don't know what he said, but the referees watched the review, and they say common foul. Now, how is that possible? Because I've seen flagrant fouls on some of the lightest stuff I've ever seen in today's NBA, but Joel Embiid, the one who, I don't know, the process, the NBA hated the process. They hate the process. There's a conspiracy that the NBA doesn't like it. You're telling me you're allowed to run up and just smack Joel in the face, not even make a play on the ball, and it's not a flagrant? I don't understand it. But, yeah, that happened. Royce O'Neal was trying to get under his skin a couple times in the game. Royce O'Neal's a goof. I understand the idea, have one of those goofy, hard-headed guys running out there, running into people, talking trash, trying to get under players' skin. The first quarter, the Nets were down by 5 already. Royce O'Neal scored on, I think, Jalen McDaniels and did like a he's too small celebration. Down by 6 in a first quarter. Royce O'Neal is celebrating. Like, you're not Shaquille O'Neal. You're not Shaquille O'Neal's cousin. You're nobody O'Neal. And I don't know what you're doing. And then there's another play where he did some kind of dumb celebration. And then In the second half of the game, he gets into this thing with Joel where he pinches Joel's arm in like his armpit right here and doesn't let go. And Joel's like, "What the get off of me?" and gives him a little tap shove, and they call it double technical. So Royce O'Neal, I understand what you're supposed to be doing out there. You got under Embiid's skin a little tiny bit, but I don't think it's really going to work. And you're Royce O'Neal. Come on, you're not. Yeah, come on, you're not even Jermaine O'Neal. You're not even related to somebody that owns O'Neal clothing. That's like dirt bike attire or something like that. Yeah, let's move on. What else? James Harden had 0 free throws in the game, and I think that's something we need to look at because the NBA is over James Harden. The NBA is completely done giving James Harden calls. I did think some of those drives he got fouled on the way up. The NBA is just like, no, we don't care anymore. We don't care anymore. We're not calling it. When's the last time James Harden finished a game with 0 free throws? And a couple other times he had some nice speed on the dribble, nice first step drives. And when he would have, in years past, he would have probably dunked it. He's trying to lay it in and getting blocked at the rim. So James looked great in this game, in this version of James that we have. This is the past the prime version of James Harden. This is the elite facilitator. As long as he can keep the 3-point shooting up, he's insanely valuable for everything we need, for everything Joel Embiid needs. Maybe he gets a little bit better as the series goes on at finishing at the rim, but he's not getting calls. And a couple of times he got blocked at the rim, but he was 8 for 21. He was 7 for 13 from 3. Huge, man. He went on a run in the first half. I think 5 of his 3-pointers were in the first half, 4 or 5 of them. And, big time. Catch and shoots when the play's breaking down and you need a big shot. And the step back on Spencer Dinwiddie coming around a screen. Spencer Dinwiddie's trying to recover. Harden hits him with just a mean step back. He almost does a split in the lane like he literally stepped on a sheet of ice, and Harden hits it. So the version of Harden that we got in this game was amazing. It was great. It's exactly what the Sixers need. And I hope he can keep it up, man. I hope he can keep it up at least in this series, and then we'll see what we look like against the Boston Celtics, because the fraud Atlanta Hawks are not even going to come close to taking a single game from the Boston Celtics. And that sucks. But I loved what James Harden brought to us in this game. 21 points, 13 assists. He only had 4 turnovers. His turnovers came later in the game. He only had 1 turnover the first 3 quarters of the game. In 27 minutes, I remember looking at it at a certain point, just trying to see, and he was taking care of the ball very well. He, tried to do some things in the fourth quarter and started turning the ball over a little bit, but I thought he took care of the ball pretty good in the long run. Pete, exactly. James got hammered on drives. Yet Bridges barely gets touched and they were called. I don't know what a foul is anymore, bro. It's 2 things. It's like maybe the NBA does really hate James Harden for 10 years of foul baiting in Houston, but maybe the NBA is also like, listen, these first round matchups suck, bro. Like, we know they suck. They're going to be sweeps. We got to do something a little bit to try to maybe stretch these things to 5 games. You're right. You're right. There was a lot of contact on one end. There was very minimal contact on the other end that was getting called. When did Mikal Bridges start getting superstar Kevin Durant calls? I'm not sure, but he was getting them in this game. But speaking of Mikal Bridges, man, shout out to Mikal Bridges, man. Shout out to Mikal Bridges. 30 points, 23 in the first half, only 7 in the second half, which, we adjusted. We made a mid-game adjustment. We were playing, my cat's meowing and I can't handle it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Dude, come on, bro. Shut up. I'm trying to do something. Get off my headphone cord, bro. Damn. Can't do anything around here in this zoo. All right. Bob the cat, ladies and gentlemen. Bob the cat. But yeah, anyway, we he hears me talking. He's like, "What's going on out there? I want to hang out. Maybe I'll get some pets. What's up?" Mikal Bridges had 23 points in the first half. He finished the game with 30. We made a mid-game adjustment. I thought, the fear that I had coming into this game is the same fear that I had with the Sixers team against a lot of teams this year, is the ball screen defense. And in the first half, they were kind of doing what I feared that they were going to do, which was drop coverage on ball screens. And Mikal Bridges was coming around screens, getting wide open shots. Seth Curry was coming around screens, getting wide open shots. And we adjusted, the thing that I haven't seen us really do this season. Zach LaVine drops 44 on 11 three-pointers. CJ McCollum dropped 41 on 10 three-pointers, something like that, because we didn't adjust in the second half of those regular season games. We adjusted in the second half of this game. We started bringing Joel more towards the three-point line on the screens, and all of a sudden, really flashing. A lot of times I saw doubles on Mikal Bridges, which, again, shout out to Mikal Bridges. This kid is going to be a star. And the fact that he's getting double teamed in the playoffs says a lot about his game and the potential that he brings to a team. And I think the Nets, in the Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant debacle disaster, which I predicted from a mile away, Eastwood's right again. They got Mikal Bridges out of it. So shout out to Mikal. But yeah, we started doubling him, because what do the Nets really have? If Mikal Bridges is going off for 23 points in the first quarter, okay, let's just take him out of the game. Let's just play higher up on the screens. Let's start flashing around the screens and making him get rid of the ball. Who else is going to score? Spencer Dinwiddie? Come on, man. Royce O'Neal? Who? Someone tell me. So I like the adjustment to Mikal Bridges. 23 points in the first half, only 7 in the second half. We took him out of the game, and the Nets had nothing else, and in the fourth quarter it was over. So shout out to Doc Rivers for his lineups in this game and the adjustments in the second half defensively on Mikal Bridges. Carlos Rosado, thank you for the super chat, my man. Eastwood, salute. To be honest, I'm not worried about this round regardless of what's going on. It's imperative that we make it out the second round. That's Doc's real test. I agree. Everything I'm saying here, take it with a grain of salt. Let's not think, if we sweep the Nets, that, oh my God, look how great we are. Well, that's what's going to happen. They're going to be on the internet. They're going to be on Twitter saying, look, you talked down on this team the whole season. You talked about Doc Rivers. You talked about this. You talked about that. Now, look, they swept the Nets. It's really like them sweeping the Wizards a couple years ago. I think that went 4-1. But I knew that with Ben Simmons on the squad, it wasn't going to get done when it really mattered. So you're probably right. Let's take it with a grain of salt. But we like ball. We like watching ball. We like talking about ball. So, let's recap the games and talk about it. But, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. We can sweep this Nets team. I really think we can. Tobias Harris. Shout out to Tobias Harris. The effort was there. He was 9 for 14. 21 points from Tobias, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. I saw him getting back in transition. I saw him boxing out. He didn't get beat backdoor a bunch of times. I saw him fighting for a couple of offensive rebounds. He ran the break with James Harden a couple of times. Someone threw an alley-oop to him. I think that was Tobias, maybe Harden. Another play hard. He had a couple of dunks in the game. So, look, we'll see what Tobias Harris looks like against Boston. I know he fell apart at the end of the season and he's been pissing everybody off. I know this is just the Brooklyn Nets, so can we really assess what playoff Tobias is going to look like or what he's going to give you in the second round series? No. But shout out to the effort that he gave in this game, and I hope he continues what he's doing for the rest of the series and end this game as quickly as possible. PJ Tucker, playoff PJ. So far, in one playoff game, you guys have been correct that we signed PJ Tucker for the playoffs. One game down. You guys were right so far. You're right for one game. I hope it continues. Throughout the regular season, I was like, what the hell is going on? The guy's pump faking wide open threes. Doc's using him in weird situations, backup center positions. Him and Niang together at the 4 and the 5 makes me want to headbutt a wall in those regular season games. So we didn't see that. And we saw PJ Tucker catching the ball in the corner wide open and shooting it. and making it. He was 2 for 5 from 3. Shout out to PJ Tucker. And obviously, 5 offensive rebounds. You always get that from PJ. He's that guy. He's that dog. He's going to hustle. He's going to keep going. The loose rebounds, the long rebounds that he chases down, really him and Paul Reed. If you watch these two guys, they fly around the court, and there's a lot of long rebounds that these guys go from under the rim to all the way out at the three-point line to chase down a rebound, and that's an effort that is just, I think, a natural thing. I think it's instinctual. I don't think a lot of players have that level of just hustle to chase down the long rebounds, and the extra effort that somebody like PJ Tucker gives is huge, and it equals 5 offensive rebounds. He had 5 steals in the game, 11 points, 5 steals, 2 assists, 7 rebounds. Playoff PJ game. Game 1 was playoff PJ, and I loved every second of it. I'm still right for screaming about the games in the regular season where he plays 30 minutes and has goose eggs across the board. I'm not wrong for that, by the way. But playoff PJ, 1 playoff game so far. You guys were right that we signed him for the playoffs, and I hope he keeps it up. If he keeps it up in these playoffs and plays like that every game, then I don't care what he does in the regular season for this whole 3-year contract. Just do it in the playoffs, and we're happy. You know what I mean? Paul Reed. The Paul Reed victory tour, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Reed in the third quarter starts chasing down loose balls, giving second chance opportunities. A finish at the rim where, he catches an offensive rebound, goes through the legs with the left hand, up and under left-handed finish, and one. Crowd's chanting B-ball Paul. Amazing. And then a couple of plays where he's running with Harden, and Harden drops a dime under the rim. The one play, Harden drops a beautiful pass under the rim as Paul's going to the opposite side, and he gets a reverse dunk on him. The crowd's going crazy. We love it. We love everything B-ball Paul's doing right now. We knew he could do this. We've known it for a couple of years. I don't know why it's taken Doc Rivers so long to just play Paul Reed at backup center. He was arguing with the media last year. Why aren't you playing Paul Reed? Well, we're going to go DeAndre when they go big, and we're going to go. No, just stop it. Stop playing a 40-year-old player because you hang out with him on the golf course. All right? Play Paul Reed, damn it. He did it the second half of the season, the month of March. He won Coach of the Month because of it, and he played him in game 1 in this playoffs, and you saw what B-ball Paul can bring to the table. And really, Paul Reed, getting the opportunities that he's gotten, is developing a little bit of an offensive game. And just like any player in the history of ever, you need playing time to develop a game. So shout out to Paul Reed. And I got a Paul Reed quote here from Rich Hoffman on Twitter that I'm going to put on the screen. Paul Reed, in his post-game press conference, he says 5 for 6, a couple dunks, a couple rebounds, a couple steals. That's what Paul Reed do. Yo, what's better than Paul Reed assessing his own game in third person? And then this is interesting. Now, you tell me in the chat, did Paul Reed take another shot at Doc Rivers? Now, he said it jokingly, but he still said it. Rich Hoffman says, I also brought up a line that Doc Rivers has said a few times in the past, that Rivers doesn't care about Paul Reed's fouls as long as he plays hard. And Paul Reed interjected midway through the question and said, Cap. He straight up called Doc Rivers a liar. I think that's funny. And I respect Paul Reed for never giving a damn about, the repercussions of some of the things that he says. Because speak your mind, Paul. Be yourself. We love it. What else? Jacques Vaughn being a sore loser. Let's go to that, okay? Let's go to Jacques Vaughn being a sore loser. I got respect for Jacques Vaughn. I liked him. I thought, the cojones that he had coming into the Nets organization and benching that bum Ben Simmons, saying, you know what, this ain't working. I don't care if the dude's on a $150 million contract. I'm not putting him on the floor. taking him off the floor in fourth quarters because he can't shoot free throws. I respected Jacques Vaughn for that. But after the game, instead of just saying, yeah, you know, we tried to double, we tried to triple, we tried to do everything we could to slow Joel down. You can't slow him down. He's not the easiest person. He's probably the most difficult player in the league to guard. Instead of just giving props and saying we got to do better, he says hopefully they'll be calling traveling and 3 seconds on the big fella next game. So I look forward to that. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know what he's talking about. I don't even know what he said. What traveling? What traveling are we talking about here? Do you know how many traveling violations you would have needed the NBA to call on Joel Embiid for it to matter enough for you to not lose by 20 points? What? What traveling are we talking about? Joel has the best footwork of a 7-footer since Hakeem Olajuwon. He literally does not travel. I don't get it. I don't understand what he's saying. I don't know why he's trying to reach for straws. I don't know why he's trying to reach for things and say, is he trying to play mind games with the officials? Okay, sure, but they're watching Joel Embiid. They've watched him the whole season. They've watched him for 8 years. He's not a guy that travels a lot. He pivots, he spins, he keeps his pivot foot. I don't understand what he's saying. And it just comes off as really loserish to me to get smacked by 20 points. I mean, the Sixers had Jaden Springer in the game in the fourth quarter. Your team's just not good enough, bro. That's just what it is. Your team is not good enough. It's okay. You weren't supposed to be good enough. You went from Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and that whole disaster and had to blow it all up at the trade deadline. You weren't even supposed to be here. Actually, you wouldn't be here at all if the Nets and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving didn't win a couple games in the beginning of the season. You wouldn't even be here. This Nets team is not a playoff team. It's only a playoff team because of what happened in the first half of the season. Come on, bro. It's okay. You're not good enough. Traveling in 3 seconds. He's trying to save his job. I don't think his job's in jeopardy. If what happened to the Nets roster wise happened to a coach and he gets fired because they're not good, I don't think Jacques Vaughn should be fired. I just think, take it on the chin. Your team's not good enough. The roster's not good enough to compete in the playoffs. Everybody kind of knows that. You don't need to reach and say Joel's traveling. It's ridiculous. Loser energy. PJ Tucker says that he cursed out Paul Reed in the first half. And where am I at? Share. PJ Tucker says he cursed out Paul Reed at halftime today and loved what happened next. I felt like he didn't have the energy. Then he came out the second half and responded. So I told everybody I'm going to curse Paul out every halftime. We need him, and I'm always going to stay on him. I love that. I love that from PJ Tucker. That's one of the reasons you bring in a player like PJ Tucker. I think Paul always has the energy. I don't know if I really noticed that he was lacking energy in the first half. I do think that lineup in the second quarter started to give up the lead a little bit until Joel came back in. I do remember that. So maybe that did have to do with Paul Reed's lack of energy on the defensive end. This team has needed a voice like this in the locker room forever. Forever. Imagine a guy like PJ Tucker being on this team when Ben Simmons was refusing to shoot a basketball for 5 years. What would have happened? What? Bro, PJ Tucker would not have been able to hold his tongue. I don't think Jimmy Butler was able to really hold his tongue. And that's the reason as soon as that season was up, Jimmy was like, I got to get out of here or I'm going to blow up on this dude in a practice and it's going to be ugly. These kind of guys can't handle this beta male fraudulent mentality that is scared to shoot a basketball, talking about Ben. But with Paul Reed, maybe he was just playing a little bit nervous because it was a playoff game. Maybe he was lacking energy on the defensive end. And you got a guy like PJ Tucker who's right there at halftime to say, hey, we need you. We need you to straighten up. We need you to play harder. We need more energy from you. We need this. We need that. I immediately thought about Ben Simmons when I saw this because I wish PJ Tucker would have been here from the beginning. Maybe Ben would have shot the ball years ago. And maybe somebody like PJ Tucker would have saved his career. Probably not, because he doesn't listen to anyone, but I would have enjoyed the back and forth. That's for sure. Shout out to PJ Tucker. What else we got? I had some other tweets up here. I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Mikal Bridges rumors. I want to go over this before I get up out of here because my dude, Trill Bro Dude on Twitter, host of the You Know Ball podcast, had him on the show a couple times. He tweeted about the Mikal Bridges trade, and if I can find it, I don't know how much he Ruby Sparks. I'm not so. I don't know. Is that a? Okay, here you go. I'm gonna call this segment "Who Really Traded Mikal Bridges?" because seeing Mikal Bridges perform the way that he's performed, obviously we consistently think about the trade. The Sixers draft Mikal Bridges, a perfect 3-and-D player, 4-year college player, NBA ready, NCAA, 2-time NCAA champion, Villanova, Philadelphia kid. His mom works for the Sixers. Everything is perfectly aligned. And the Sixers trade him for a player in Zaire Smith, who was a project at the time, had insane athleticism, but not much of a game whatsoever. The only highlight they kept showing of Zaire Smith was a 360 dunk in a college basketball game. And it was always clear to me that, like, it had to be somebody that didn't know anything about basketball. It had to be. It had to be somebody that shouldn't have been making decisions, that saw these Zaire Smith highlights and said, this kid's the next Michael Jordan. Look at this dunk. This kid's the next Michael Jordan. We have to get him. He's going to be something. Let's trade Mikal. It had to be somebody that had no idea what they were doing. Here's the tweet from Troll Bro Dude, You Know Ball podcast. Adam Lefko confirmed on the latest Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast that ownership traded Mikal Bridges. Jay Wright told Adam Lefko that Brett Brown and his staff never wanted to trade Mikal Bridges, which was obvious if you thought about it for 2 seconds. Coaches don't have job security. Brett Brown was gone 2 years later. This has always been something that I said. I said this for a couple of years, that there was rumors that some of the owners were involved in this trade. And it was really a couple of dumbass billionaires that thought they were playing 2K with a $1 billion corporation and thought they, whoa, we know what we're doing. This is what should happen. Here's the follow-up to the tweet. It's so funny. People always blame Brett Brown for trading Mikal Bridges. And yeah, I blamed Brett Brown for a while because that's what they told me. They told me Brett Brown was the interim GM. But I did always kind of say maybe he was just a yes man. How much control did he really have? Was he really the one making decisions? Him and Elton Brand. It's so funny that people always blame Brett Brown for trading Bridges when there has never been a coach like, oh yeah, give me the raw athletic guy and a future pick instead of the plug-and-play role player. That's literally always some front office shit. Brett didn't have any power as GM. And Keith Pompey reported this. Keith Pompey reported this a few months after the 2018 draft, and he said, sources have said that limited partner David Heller, a businessman and former Goldman Sachs executive, I want to just throw up hearing stupid shit like that. Businessman and former Goldman Sachs executive. These are the guys that were making basketball decisions, bro. All you know is numbers. All you know how to take $5 and invest it into something to turn it into $10. All you know is money. You don't know a damn thing about basketball. What are you doing making decisions? Sources have said that limited partner David Heller, a businessman and former Goldman Sachs executive, was running the show in Colangelo's absence. So this ownership group actually fired Brian Colangelo because of the Twitter rumors, which, by the way, if I was the ownership, I would have said, whatever. His wife had the burner. He had the burner. Who gives a shit? Brian Colangelo at least is an experienced NBA GM and his dad, and he put together a pretty damn good team in those couple of years. He had Ben Simmons playing like Magic Johnson at the end of that one season with Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova and everybody. Give me Brian Colangelo over a lot of these people. Even he's a weirdo. Yeah, he wore big collars. Yeah, he was talking trash about Joel Embiid on some burner accounts. But they fired Brian Colangelo, and they let their idiot billionaire buddy business partners step in and make decisions. Sources have said that limited partner Dave Heller, former businessman, Goldman Sachs executive, was running the show in Colangelo's absence, and that he, more than Brett Brown, was acting as general manager, at least through the NBA draft process, if not the whole offseason. Sources have said that co-managing owner Josh Harris listens entirely to Heller. So every time you see Mikal Bridges drop 30 on us in this series, every time you see Mikal Bridges for the next couple of years become a future NBA superstar, look at that dork that was standing on the sidelines yesterday in a Louis Vuitton hoodie trying to dress down to try to fit in with the regular folk. It's Josh Harris's fault. Honey, what should I wear to look like a normal person? Well, you have a hoodie in your closet. It's a $2,000 Louis Vuitton hoodie. You're not. No, stop it. Go back and hang out on your yacht. Leave us alone. Anyway, I really wanted to cover that Mikal Bridges thing because that pisses me off, but it is what it is. It's over. It's done. We're going to watch Mikal be a star. Just imagine Mikal Bridges on this squad. James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Mikal Bridges, and Joel Embiid. Bro. And it's things like that, you know, that it's things like that ownership matters when it comes to winning, because things like that happen. And the Boston Celtics have such a strong team right now because they've not let ex Goldman Sachs executives make basketball decisions. Danny Ainge, former NBA player, was making all the decisions, and then he went to Utah, traded Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell for 7,000 first-round picks. Genius. But, yeah, the GM matters. The ownership matters to an extent. And, you know, if the Sixers never get out of the second round because they don't have a strong enough, deep enough roster like the Boston Celtics, part of it is because of things like that. Is because of players like Mikal Bridges and others should be on this team right now, and they're not because Josh Harris and his dumbass buddies thought they were playing 2K. What else, man? The Kings. I want to shout out the Kings. First playoff appearance in 17 years. They beat the Golden State Warriors last night in Game 1. That was an amazing game to watch. If you only watch Sixers games and you don't tune into other NBA games, I don't know what you're doing, bro. You're missing out on primetime entertainment. The Kings-Warriors game was great. There's a couple of good games today. Lakers-Grizzlies. Then you got the Bucks and Heat at 6:30. I'll be covering the Bucks and Heat on PlaybackTV, playback.tv/runitbackphilly. Be there at 6:30. Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat, first round, first game. That's going to be a fun one. Join us on the playback stream. And the last thing I want to talk about is something that continues to annoy me, because speaking of the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green, let me get this up on Twitter so we can look at this. Draymond Green, after a playoff loss, immediately went to his podcast and did a post-game reaction I've commented on this before with Darius Slay having his own podcast and making comments about the Eagles didn't offer him a contract and I almost went to the Ravens and like bragging about. There's certain things that we don't need to know from players. There's certain things that used to stay in a locker room, and now players with certain egos, I'll say, want to have a podcast. If you want to have a podcast after your career, I'm all for it. If you're entertaining and you're fun to listen to, that's great. And that's awesome that, a player who played for so many years and won championships, it's fun to listen to guys that have been through it and really did it on a podcast. But during the playoffs, game one, you lose and you go and do a post-game reaction. Why are NBA players trying to be random YouTubers, bro? You really want to trade places with me? You made all the millions of dollars you made in the NBA. And you're like, you know what I really want to do? I really want to do what that Eastwood guy does, sitting up in his little makeshift studio attic doing post-game reactions. What? I'm confused. But that's where I'm at with it, man. That's where I'm at with it. Hey, look, it's Sunday. I want you guys to enjoy your day. I'm going to go enjoy my day. I rambled for a whole hour, so sorry we didn't take call-ins. We'll take call-ins on some of the shows coming up here. The game recaps are tough because I got a lot to say, and I try to keep it under an hour on the live shows. We'll post out a couple of clips from this and post them as separate videos for the people that don't like to watch an hour-long show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out. Please hit the like button. We hit almost 300 people live. Maybe we did hit 300 people live. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Go Sixers. Sweep the Nets. Get them out of here. And let's move on to the Boston Celtics. You guys are the best. Run It Back Nation. I'll see you soon. 6:30 on Playback TV. Playback.tv/runitbackphilly. Peace.